We are now going to call to order the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District meeting, special meeting of Thursday, October 5th, 2017 at 5:30. Mr. Tate, would you please call the roll?
Vice Chairman Page. Director McMillan is going to be late. Director Marshall.
Present.
Director Sakowitz is absent. And Chairman Rocco.
President. Second item on the agenda is public expression. The board welcomes participation in board meetings. Comments shall be limited so that everyone may be heard. This item is limited to matters under the jurisdiction of the board which are not on the posted agenda and items which have not already been considered by the board. The board limits testimony on matters not on the agenda to 3 minutes per person and not more than 10 minutes for a particular subject at the discretion of the chair of the board. No actions will be taken. Individuals wishing to address the board on items on the agenda will be given an opportunity to do so when the item is addressed by the board. The board limits testimony on matters on the agenda to 3 minutes per person and no more than 10 minutes for a particular subject at the discretion of the chair of the board. Anyone wishing to speak must come to the podium and state their name. Any members of the public wishing to speak?
Just the podium.
That's the podium.
My name is Chris Ostrom. I'm a co-owner of Pacific Outfitters, and I'm here about the amendment to the contract with the law offices. And currently, they are an at-will status, and it looks like they're trying to change that. And I would strongly recommend that you not go forward with that amendment. Okay.
Thank you.
That's on the agenda.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm sure of this.
That was an agenda item that needs to be, those comments need to be during the time the item is called, not during public expression.
That's why I came up. I'm already with, I wanted to make sure that there would be public comment after that agenda item.
There will be.
Good, thank you.
Mr. White?
Good evening, Sean White, City of Ukiah. I just wanted to reiterate at the last meeting that I came here and sort of emphasize some of the points made in the letter from the mayor about our desire to resolve this through mediation. And I know as your report out from your last closed session, you sort of emphasized your desire to do things through mediation as well. But I think there was one distinction, which was there was sort of a disposition here that sort of the impending litigation one is useful and sort of a would sort of expedite and produce results in mediation. And the city would just like to say that we disagree on that one point. By staying the case, sort of litigation still stays out there and the pressure from litigation still stays out there, but in the interim we can both reduce costs and we focus on that. I can tell you now that our legal team doesn't have time to spend on mediation, at least primarily in this time we're working on depositions and other things to get ready for the March trial date. So again, I would urge you to reconsider staying the case, which keeps that pressure there, but allowing us to focus on mediation and not things like deposition and other functions of preparation for March. That's it. Thank you.
Any other members of the public wishing to make a public comment regarding matters not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will close the public expression portion of the agenda and move on to item number 3, discussion and possible action regarding the fiscal year 2017-2018 administrative budget. Mr. Tate.
Yes, quick item, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I have the former 2016-2017 one-page document that's entitled Administrative Budget. It was a part-time budget, obviously, which when we talked about office administration, there weren't any projects involved here except for 2 that I see, and they aren't spelled out in detail. So I would seek the board's comments and hopeful approval that we can transition from this budget to a full-time, fully prepared annual budget, which I'm prepared to begin compiling.
So is that the update?
No, this is last year. Yeah, so I'm trying to get approval to go from this budget, which was part-time, and only administrative for the office to a regular full-time utility budget.
Mr. Page? Okay. Well, at this point, we will open this matter to public expression. Any members of the public wishing to address the item? Seeing none come forward, we'll close public expression. And Mr. Marshall and Mr. Page both have decided, as I have, that we need to move forward with an administrative budget review and to go from part-time to full-time. So I'm assuming at this point the chair would accept a motion to direct Mr. Tate.
So moved.
And I'll second.
Okay, and a motion and a second to direct Mr. Tate to prepare a full-time budget, administrative budget for 2017-2018. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. And we'll move on to item number 4, discussion of possible action regarding board policy regarding general manager's authority. In the board packet, there was a general manager's authorities and duties outlined. Mr. Tate?
Yeah, there's one does not exist today, so I've put together a brief initial general manager's authority, which I'm anticipating will probably be amended if the board so moves on a new proposed budget, which would coincide with these duties. So this is a starter as far as authority goes for the general manager until we get a full operating budget.
Prior to this, we didn't have one.
That's my understanding. I haven't been able to find one. The general manager's authority. Well, I have not seen one.
Well, does this need a motion and a second?
We'll open the item to any members of the public wishing to make a public comment. Seeing none come forward, we'll close public expression and
Make a motion that we accept the general manager's authorities and duties as drawn.
sorry, I have one comment. Is this an interim? Is this what you would assume to be an interim matter until we have the?
It could be, depending on the board's discretion, or this may fit in with the full-time budget, depending on what it's finally adopted by the board.
Change the maker of the motion. Second motion.
I make the motion that we accept the general manager's authority and duties as drawn so far.
Sorry, a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. We can now move on to item number 3. Discussion of possible action regarding the amendment to the legal contract with the law firm of Duncan and James. Mr. Tate, you have some comments.
Just some opener, and if Mr. Olszak wanted to weigh in as well, but my general comments are is that the last contract, and if you'll recognize over the last 3 meetings now, this being the 3rd, I have brought to the board contract updates. We didn't have a contract for Mr. Dickerson. We also didn't have some other contracts that I brought before the board, and here's just another extension of that process of updating things that I think have been sitting in the office for quite some time. And that's why this contract is before you. It has the same rates for the 2 lead attorneys, Mr. Duncan, Mr. James and Mr. Olszak. Those rates do not change, and that's 95% of the work that's being conducted in the office now. So that's the reason for the new contract, and to keep some continuity as the litigation proceeds.
Mr. Losak?
Just want to second what the district manager said, is this is just an update. This was brought forward by the district manager. We amended the contract, updated it. The existing contract is 5 years old at this point, and we're simply updating it to the current conditions. And most of the language is the same. There is the extension of the contract through 2022, I believe, which coincides with the district manager's contract, and will ensure continuity for all matters that the district is currently involved in.
Like I mentioned, we also have other contracts brought before the board that I find in the office that just simply haven't been updated in a number of years.
And if I'm not mistaken, this contract covers not just the litigation portion of the music duties, but also the day-to-day operations of the district as well.
That's correct. The Duncan James Law Office provides legal services on a bunch of other issues for the district, especially day-to-day issues that come up, and this will cover that as well.
Yeah, the previous work that was conducted were related to property, potential property issues, and also previous professional service contracts that all came through the office. They were actually forwarded to the law firm for review and recommended for either approval or edits.
And this relationship occurred after the county council's office terminated representation for all special districts.
That's correct. I was actually with the county council's office. The county council at that time was Mr. Parker, and Ms. Nadell, who was the previous county council, had started the process of backing the county council's office out of representing special districts. And we had at that point represented the sanitation district for a number of years. They simply gave notice to the district that they were no longer going to be able to provide those services. And at that point, I believe the board chose the law office of Duncan James.
Yeah, that's correct, after reviewing others. And
Rates are the same?
The rates are the same for, as I mentioned, about 95% of the existing work. There are additional attorneys that work between 5 and 10% of the time, as I've discussed with, or as I've discovered with the law firm, where one rate went up $12 and another rate went up $25. But those numbers are so minor compared to the Duncan James office numbers that that's not going to impact the bottom line as far as the contract goes. And I bring this to the board for their own review and comments and edits and anything that you can do.
Does it need some sort of motion for approval at this point?
yes.
Well, send it out to the public.
I think we have to public comment first.
We will get there. You just asked a question.
Yes.
Any other comment from the board at this time?
So basically, this is just to put the contract together for what the services that have already been being provided by Duncan James, is that correct? There's a few changes in the numbers.
I had brought up the question, as Mr. Losak can confirm, I brought up the question, coming on board, are the current rates indicated in the contract?
Mhm.
And for 95% of it, yes, but for a smaller part, no, so I asked for rates to be put in, and whatever those rates were, to be included in a new contract.
Some of those changes came from some of the attorneys that are working for Duncan outside of his office.
Yeah, like I say, not a big role up front, you know, with what the meet between Doug and Duncan, that's 95% of the work.
And just to clarify, this is simply an amendment of an existing contract.
Right.
And the amendment we're dealing with.
Partly the I don't have the red line version, but part of it is the attorney's fees charged for each individual attorney. There is the expiration date, and I believe there may be, let's see, a few other things, cost expenses.
Yeah, this, for me, this was a transparency issue for me. I just want to make sure everybody knew on the board what was current versus what was going on in 2012. So
Part of what you've been doing lately is going through the books, finding out anything that there's left undone.
or needs updating, you know, like this one, just bringing some refreshing information to the contract, so the board's aware of it. No assumptions, we're working off the whole data, and let's bring it to the board and let them decide.
So the last contract expired, is what you're saying?
No.
This just
This
solidifies it, I think that's what you said.
is simply an amendment to an existing contract.
Yeah, I can remember the first one.
Waiting for you ready for public comment? Okay, we're going to open this matter to public comment. Remind the public once again that the matter is limited to 10 minutes for this particular agenda item, and not more than 3 minutes per person wishing to make a comment. Any members of the public wishing to make a comment?
My name's Don Crawford. I'm a district ratepayer. I live at 700 Malaga Drive, out at the outskirts of Ukiah. I reviewed both those contracts. There's some stark changes I would consider more than an amendment. The first contract was that clause 10, or however you term the numbers. Clearly it's an at-will contract, open-ended. The client, the first sentence in it under the client is that it's can be terminated at any time. The new contract in the very same clause has a bunch of lawyers speak, but there's nothing clear about the termination option that the board might have if they become dissatisfied with the legal services. I think that that should be in there. It's a marked change from the previous one. When you change an at-will contract to a contract that's going to terminate out 4 years or whatever, that's not just an amendment. I think it's additionally sensitive that this would be brought before the board within a month of an election. You can draw up, I know that there are many people that draw the obvious conclusion that perhaps it's this particular change and the fact that it's coming a month before has possibly ulterior motives. As I said, I don't understand the new 10th clause there. It's got a lot of verbiage, but it's not as simple as the first one. I recommend that you put this on a table, hold it until after the election. The optics are obvious. I don't think another month or 2 months is gonna change what the lawyers want. But I think it's the ethical thing to do. I do compliment you on the fact that it's an open item agenda and not hidden anywhere. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. White?
Yeah, Sean White, City of Ukiah. I would really only like to say, once I echo the comments of Don Crawford, but in particular, in respect to the changes to Section 10, your existing contract is very clear that you have the ability to terminate this agreement, and the new one, you don't, only your attorney does. And I think that is a significant change. And I think in particular, when the rate structure is set in a way that your council does not need to seek your approval, only needs to provide notice, and you have no ability to terminate, I don't think that's a good thing really for any board. So I would urge you to reconsider.
Good evening, I'm Ernie Whiff, district ratepayer. And I kind of have the same question about number 10. Why do you want to sign up a contract if you have an at-will contract? The attorney's willing to provide the services. Why do you want to extend a contract out for nearly 5 years I would hope that the litigation settled and his services will be needed on a very limited basis past that. So I don't understand why you'd want to extend the contract out that long. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon or good evening, board. Dan Buffalo, finance director for the city of Ukiah. I am, as finance director, oversee and work with the city manager on all procurement matters. And being involved as such, after reviewing this contract, I have strong concerns for the district to do its due diligence to make sure that it has an outside attorney review that for you, just to make sure that the district's interests are held at hand. There are a number of concerns we have with the contract that we think puts the district at risk for a number of things. So please take time and care in reviewing it. And just like the city does, when we have questions about contracts come up before us, we do our due diligence to either have our in-house legal team review it or contract out and have an outside firm give us that professional opinion. So please do that due diligence, and the city is willing to help out anyone we can.
It's me again, Chris Ostrom with Pacific Outfitters. So I'm not a good public speaker or good with words or anything, but I did write something down earlier. But as a local citizen and a local business owner paying twice for this lawsuit, I have great concerns about the proposed contract for the law offices of Duncan and James. The existing contract is an at-will contract, and the new amended contract does not allow for us to terminate at will. With the possibility of a new board coming on to the UVSD after this next election, they should have the freedom to terminate should they choose to do so. I strongly recommend that you do not go forward with this particular wording, and that you to me on the clause 10 stay exactly as it is. After listening to you guys talking before, to me that was a huge change. I mean, that first sentence, client may discharge attorney at any time, is the current contract. To now, going from a paragraph to about a page and a half on the new contract. I'm shocked that none of you had anything to say about that. It was like you just breezed right over that. But that's big, and that's big for a lot of us. So that's my 2 cents.
My name is Andrea Reed, and I'm a district ratepayer, and I'm here to encourage the board to consider greatly the clause 10, echoing the gentleman that has come before me in stating that I agree this should be kept at will with the ability to terminate as seems fit by the board moving forward. I think that it's smart business to be able to have the 2 weeks period on that and not be at the mercy of the lawyers. Thank you.
Any other members of the public wishing to make a comment? Seeing none come forward, we're going to close the public expression and discuss the matter between the board members.
I'm pretty straight up, I mean, that will. And, I'm not one of those on this. Because it doesn't give me a warm feeling. But it needs to be at will.
Mr. Marshall?
Well, I'm curious, are you asking for some sort of motion in regards to this, either acceptance, decline, or to be declined at this moment?
I think what we're looking at is a motion to continue the matter for further discussion regarding the clause that's contained in the amendment.
I appreciate Mr. Buffalo's recommendation, having an additional person take a look at it, so.
And for the public, I wasn't willing to agree to it anyway. Because that will is a big word. And it needs to be in there. So I think we need further discussion.
Okay.
We're going to move this item to the next agenda and bring it back and discuss it at that time.
Yes.
Okay. Move on to item number 6, discussion.
Can I just ask a follow-up question or at least direction? Director Marshall mentioned about getting outside council to look at it. Is that something the board wants to consider now, or is that going to be at the next meeting?
What I was recommending is it does need further review.
Okay. Thank you.
Move on to item number 6, discussion of possible action regarding the structure and leadership of working committees. Mr. Tate, your comments?
That was a follow-up item, Mr. Chairman, from comments made by at least a couple of board members regarding existing committees, what is needed by the district, the leadership roles of those committees, and so on. As a follow-up item from the board discussion.
At this time, I believe we have 2 working committees, the Finance Committee, chaired by Director McMurlin, and the Planning and Technical Committee, which Mr. Page and I are on. And at this point, I believe that the Planning and Technical Committee are waiting for further instructions regarding the potential for further investigation of real property purchases, and that the Finance Committee is at this point getting ready to embark on rebate. And Ms. McMurlin, do you have a comment?
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee hasn't met in a while, because usually we just meet for budget. Who's the other person on the committee with me?
Mr. Marshall?
Okay, just wanted to double check with that. And I've already been in contact with Mr. Tate regarding setting up our meetings.
So, we've had a discussion, and we all understand who's where what, and we're going to do it. Is that consensus of the board? Okay. So, Mr. Tate, you'll be coordinating with Director McMurlin, the Finance Committee's next meeting, and at such time as is appropriate, the Planning and Technical Committee will meet regarding the other items on the...
We're close to an update on the, to require the Planning and Technical Committee to come back, but I'm waiting for some of the other districts.
We need a Policies and Procedures Committee. I don't think we have a standing PMP.
You don't.
I think we need to have one,
Okay.
because that's something we need to look at, and our PMPs need to be established and revised, and standing operating procedures and everything else. So if we could,
We had that committee at one time,
we did,
and I believe Mr.
many years ago.
Yeah, Mr. Pallison was on that.
With me,
And you,
yeah.
and once we produce the,
So I'm requesting now that we reestablish that Policies and Procedures Committee and request them to
we can
review our
take
policies.
that, we can reinvent the policy committee.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I volunteer to be on that committee. Is there anyone else who'd like to be on PMP with me?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Don't sound so excited.
I didn't know there was one.
I'm the chair of the PMP for
Well,
LAFCO.
it was before I became a.
Yeah, so we'd established what we thought
There
was
should be.
proper decorum, and we'll go forward with that. That having been said, are there any members of the public wishing to make a comment regarding the creation of the new committee?
That existed before.
Ms. Crawford again, one of the directors mentioned the rebate program. Does that open it to discussion about that, or
No.
is that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, so, any other members?
I'd like to comment. When that item does come to the committee though, it is open, it will be posted, it will be on the website, it will be posted on the door, and you're more than welcome to attend that committee meeting. And we'd love to hear your input.
Thank you.
Okay, closed public comment. We have a motion to reinstitute the policy committee
Second.
and to make the members Teresa and Robert. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries. That brings us to agenda item number 7, closed session, conference with legal counsel, which we will then report out.
Take your time, very good.
Okay, the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District has come back in from closed session at 6:54 PM. And Mr. Losak, would you please report the outcome of the closed session?
It was reported in closed session that the district was successful on in front of the Court of Appeals. The city had filed what's called an anti-SLAPP motion against one of the district's allegations in its complaint, and the motion was denied by the Superior Court judge. The city appealed that decision to the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals, in a unanimous decision, upheld the Superior Court's decision and denied the city's appeal on that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Losak. That having been reported out, the last item on our agenda says adjournment.
What about the next meeting?
Staff correction.
It's already been established by our previous meeting. Set the regular meeting.
Okay. Unless the board wants to redirect the manager during the week to come up with another date.
And then it would be a special meeting at that point, because right now the regular meeting is set by resolution, I believe.
It's already set.
For the third Thursday of every month. If the board would like to change that, we can put it on the agenda for the next regular meeting and change it. Or at a special meeting.
At a special meeting, yeah.
If we would like, but it has to be done through a resolution.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.
Now we have